Hey friend, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here listening to another episode of the Pattern Design Circle podcast. Here we talk all about the ins and outs of designing knit and crochet patterns and running a business that makes it all possible. I'm Jessica, your host, knitting pattern designer, design mentor, and the friend in your ear. Can't wait to dive right in. The Pattern Design Circle podcast is sponsored by the Pattern Design Circle, a membership community for knit and crochet pattern designers that are feeling lost, lonely, or frustrated in their business. It connects you with a supportive community that's always eager to answer your questions and help you through the hard times. And there's loads of resources and activities specifically catered to business and designing. Sound like your jam? Check it out at snickerdoodleknits.com/design-circle. That's snickerdoodle, like the cookie, knits, knits.com/design-circle. All right, let's get into it. Hello, my friend. I'm so excited to be chatting with you again today. Today, I have a podcast guest with me, Jessie Rayot of Jessie at Home and the new owner of Crochet Foundry. And in this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about how Jessie got started designing, but a lot of the episode is actually about her purchasing an existing crochet magazine, Crochet Foundry. It's an online magazine. She'll share a lot more about it in the episode. So it's about different changes in our business and opportunities that come up and how to approach those opportunities, things to keep in mind. So she shares information about, what it's like to be running a magazine, if you've ever had interest in doing it yourself, or working for a magazine, giving some insights there. She also shares some insights from the publisher perspective for designers to have an idea of what to include in your submissions for a call for submissions, what's really helpful for her, that kind of information. And then she also is just sharing business stuff in general. So whether you are interested in owning a crochet magazine or a knit magazine in the future or not, I think you'll find value in it, and I really hope you enjoy listening. Also, Jessie did share a coupon code for our lovely listeners here. So if you would like to order a copy of Crochet Foundry magazine, you can use coupon code Beautiful Crochet for 10% off, and it's a one-time coupon. So it's for your entire Crochet Foundry magazine order, but it does not include indie patterns. So it's specifically the Crochet Foundry magazine. So I will include that information in the description, and I'll also have a little bit reminder at the end for you about the coupon as well. And I hope you enjoy our chat with Jessie. Hello and welcome back to the Pattern Design Circle podcast. I'm so excited to be here in your ear again with a special guest. Here we have Jessie from Jessie at Home and now the new owner of Crochet Foundry. So we're going to talk a little bit about your background, Jessie, with Jessie at Home. And then we're going to talk a lot about Crochet Foundry and what it's looked like buying a company and specifically a crochet magazine and all of the things in there. So do you want to share a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. I am Jessie. I started my career as a professional costume designer. I ran the costume. We had the twins, and I kind of started Jessie at Home as a way to share the pictures and the stories of my kids with everybody. It was the first time in my life since I was like 14 that I wasn't actually employed, because after the twins were born, we had realized that it was more expensive for me to have a job than not to, because of the cost of childcare.
Yes.
It was like either I could spend money to work or my husband and I could work completely opposite hours. And I married him because I liked him. So like not ever seeing him again just wasn't the most appealing thing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a stay-at-home mom, and then I started Jessie at Home to share the pictures and stories with family and friends. And just kind of morphed
Yeah.
and turned into what it is. So yeah.
Yes, I love that. So my internet, like you froze on me when you were talking about your costume designing part. So do you want to repeat that, like the your very beginning of your intro? I came back
Yeah.
that you were having twins.
You froze a little bit too there, so I wasn't quite sure. um, yeah, so I started my life as a professional costume designer. I went to undergrad for that, and then I started running the costume department for the costume department for Adelphi University out in Long Island. I was their costume shop manager, and I designed some of their shows and everything. Um, and then while I was there, I was set up on a blind date with a boy in Jersey, and we met and we fell in love, and we got married and moved to Jersey and had twins. Everything progressed from there.
Yes, yes. So FYI for those listening in, Jessie's been at several events and she's losing her voice. So thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, even when your voice is already shot.
Yeah, it's been one a week for, well, yeah, in the last month I've gone to three, and I'm now home for 2 weeks, and then I have one more, and then I'm good.
Yay!
Yeah.
Yes. And we met at an event last fall is how we
Yeah, the
first
first time
met.
was at Rhinebeck.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
picked you up from the airport.
Yes. Yes. So we stayed at the Go Sadie house together and everything. So
Yeah.
um for those who have heard me talk about Go Sadie before, and I had Go Sadie on podcast for an interview as well. So this is another one of the testers, and I think it shows the power of the networking that Go Sadie's been doing for us as designers because we that's how we met.
Yes.
Anyway, going back to your story, I love how you shared, like you said that Jessie at home now is just morphed from, something that was completely different when you started. And that's how I love to look at just business in general. And even now as you add Crochet Foundry, like life and business, it just continues to change and morph. A lot of times it's easy to have these expectations for, all right, I'm going in this straight path this way, but that's not the way real life works.
Yeah.
So, Crochet Foundry, what was your experience with the company prior to buying it? Like, had you worked with them before? What kind of was your relationship there?
Well, when I was a baby crochet blogger, like I've been crocheting since I was like 8 or 9, but I started crochet blogging um, right after I started the blog. And I was in a couple different little like online forum groups or whatever for crochet bloggers. And then Facebook happened, and several little groups from different places all came together into one group in Facebook. And I became like just this woman, Lorene, and I became unbelievably close, just such good friends. Lorene and we would talk video chats for hours and everything. And 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 just like as the years have gone by, our friendship, we've gotten close and we've spread apart and gotten close and spread apart, but we've always been very fond of each other. And so she's actually one of the founding members of Crochet Foundry. And so, I mean, I remember when it was starting, and when they were doing all of that. Um, and it was just, that wasn't my cup of tea at that time. It wasn't something that she and I were working on together. Um, but I remember it starting, and I remember being so proud of her and always cheering her on and everything. And yeah, at that time, what I was doing and Crochet Foundry weren't really aligned so much. Um, and so I didn't really do much with Crochet Foundry, but I was a fan. um, and I always, they took nice photos, and the patterns were well written, and I love that they used all the sizes and all the models, and it was really awesome. Um, yeah, so that's kind of like I've known about it since probably before almost anybody else has known about it. Um, and it's just been it's always been Lorene's baby. So so it was very it's one of those things where the seeds were planted years and years ago, you know.
Yes, yes. So when did Crochet Foundry start?
Um like 4 years ago, what would that be? 2020? Yeah, 2020.
Okay. Yes.
I'm pretty sure it was spring. No, I can't remember which season was the first one. I don't remember. Because it was seasonal for the first few years until Furls bought it, and then it became monthly.
Okay, okay. And then before you started talking about purchasing Crochet Foundry, had you had in mind that you wanted to have a crochet magazine, or like was any of this already in the back of your mind, or did it kind of arise as an opportunity that you took?
Um, no, I never even thought about owning a crochet magazine. Uh, to be honest, I a little over a decade ago, Lorene said to me one day when we were both making lunch and chatting on video chats, "Hey, Jessie, there's this thing called Crochet Guild of America. We should join." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "They're having a trade show. We should, or a conference. We should go." And I said, "Okay." And she said, "They're having a design competition. We should enter." And I said, "Okay." And she's like, "But the stuff is due in like a couple weeks. So it's going to have to be something you already have, you know." So like I pulled the blanket off of my daughter's bed that like we had been using for inside picnics and blanket forts and stuff for years, and tossed it in the wash because like I said, picnics. And I threw it out on the floor, and my husband and I are walking around looking for all of the ends to like cut off any ends that are sticking out or tuck them in or whatever, and shipped it off, and it ended up taking second place in the home decor category when I was at the conference. So suddenly I had a job. I had like, not a job, I had a career. I was like, people wanted to buy my patterns. And I was like, oh crap, I guess I'm doing this now. I mean, like for years, I was a professional costume designer. I know how to do this stuff, and I know how to work in an industry like this. And, it's fast, it's slow, it's fast, it's slow. Oh my gosh, everything's happening at once. Wait, now what's going on? There's nothing happening. I'm totally used to that. That's theater. So, we went through all of that. And that was all because I said, okay to Lorene. So then um, in December, it's really funny. My parents went on a trip to Italy for 2 weeks. Okay. So the last time I talked to them before they left, there was nothing. I had no clue any of this was happening. And when they got home, I was like, oh, by the way, while you were gone, I bought a magazine. Like, that's how quick it happened. Because it was like, I swear, it was like right after I talked to my parents before they left, I get this email from Lorene and Harrison about the magazine being for sale. And what do I say when Lorene asks me something? Okay. So I bought it. But there was more to it than that. Like I talked to my husband and I was like, I got this email and it's just like I read it and it's okay. But the reason why it so quickly and easily came out as okay is because I saw everything I had been doing for the last decade come together in make like this is all of those things that I was like, what's going on? Suddenly everything made sense. It was like the last decade of my life, everything just melded together to say, this is what you've been preparing for the past 10 plus years. I tell people my superpower is collecting really, really awesome people and matching them up with each other. It's like, you need this person here. I have this person, and you two people should really talk because you're going to be perfect together. And that's what I do. I like match people up. I'm like, crochet business matchmaker in the non-romantic way. And so when Crochet Foundry was like there in front of me for sale, it was suddenly like, oh, I've been collecting all these awesome people and now I have a way to use them myself. And, I can go take over the crochet industry and bring all my friends with me.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Okay, so what is Crochet Foundry? And then has it changed since you took it over, or are you pretty much maintaining what it was?
Um, so it's Crochet Magazine, comes out monthly, and a little bit of a community. So when I took it over, there was the Crochet Foundry Makes group on Facebook, and that was very active. And they would have a live every Wednesday at noon Eastern, and just there was a lot of communication there. And in addition to the Wednesday lives, they'd sometimes have other like interviews and stuff. And it was all owned by Furls, so it was very much like mixed in. It was sometimes hard to tell where one ended and the other one began, um, which is not a problem in any way, shape, or form. But it just, when it separated, it was like trying to figure out sometimes which things were Furls and which things were Crochet Foundry.
Mhm.
And then it's obviously also the magazine, which is a digital magazine only, no print, that comes out once a month. And in the magazine, it started off as pretty much only garments, and then they started adding a few other things in. There's usually between like 5 to 9 patterns in there, and then some interviews and articles and everything. So when I got it, I really, really wanted to nurture the community. Um, I I very much, like, part of my mental health is being able to use the internet to have a community. Um, I don't have a lot of people where I live. I didn't grow up here. My neighborhood it's great for a family neighborhood, but it's not really like necessarily my people so much. Um, so I love having online meetings with people. I love having sit and stitches and everything. Um, so I've kept all the lives, and uh, as I was doing everything with the magazine, it was a little bit behind. And I realized that I could lose my mind trying to make everything work on the schedule that it was on. Just a second. Or I could go ahead and I could take like 2 months no magazine, so that I could get the schedule back on track.
Yeah.
So what I did was we put out the March issue on March 15th. And then the next issue, which is going to be a special Pride issue, will be the first Friday in June, because it normally comes out the first Friday of every month. So right now, in addition to getting all of those dates ahead of time again, because we realized that it takes, when we came up with like the perfect schedule, it starts 49 weeks before the magazine publishes is when you start the issue. So there's stuff going forward right now for future issues. The next issue isn't being published until June, and also in that time, I've been building the community. So in addition to the Wednesday lives on Facebook, which are also streamed on Instagram and my Jessie at Home YouTube, we're also having Zoom sit and stitches on most Wednesdays. When I'm off at a trade show, I don't have the sit and stitches. If I can't make it to a live, then one of my moderators, I got moderators for the group, and one of them will do the lives. But if I'm not there for a sit and stitch, then the sit and stitches don't usually happen. And those have been so fun to just have. I run them for 2 hours, so there's usually some time in there that people can come in, even if they're just popping in and out. And it's been fun to be able to get to know the community and everything. So I really like the community aspect. And then with the magazine, I love the inclusivity of the sizes. I've changed. We're not using the Craft Yarn Council size standards anymore. because above like a size 12, the bust and the bicep measurements tend to not be big enough. They tend to be off. So I've been using the measurements from Kim McBride Evans, who's also the owner of Dragonfly.
Indigo Dragonfly.
Indigo Dragonfly. Thank you. I was like, wait,
Yes.
no. I almost had it backwards. Indigo
I had
Dragonfly.
her on the podcast. We recorded it on the podcast a couple weeks ago. So her episode comes out like 3 weeks before yours.
Awesome. I love it. So yes, we're working with her, using her measurements. Coming from a costume design background, I was very aware that the Craft Yarn Council measurements were not human. And that's what is standard to be used in the industry. And I was like, well, just because it's standard to be used in the industry doesn't mean it's right. Yeah. So I wanted things that were actually going to fit people who are above a size 12. So we're doing that. And then, and even the past issues, though, another thing I love is they always included customization and sizing and styling tips. So like if you're making something and you find that the bust isn't going to be big enough or whatever, there's tips in there on how to adjust the pattern to make it fit you, which is awesome. And then there's tips on how to, if it's a top-down sweater, how to give it long sleeves or short sleeves or make it longer, put slits in the sides so you can have it more like a tunic, whatever. I love that everything came with those customization tips and then also little style tips as to like, here's different ways you can wear it, outfits you can wear it with, dress it down, dress it up. So I'm definitely, though, all of those things are sticking around. The size inclusivity is sticking around. And I've been working on making sure that our design calls are going out to a more diverse group of people. I spent a lot of time talking with the Makers of Color Collective from Not Bad Brit.
Yes.
So suddenly Brit's last name has escaped me entirely, but she's Not Bad Brit, and she runs the Makers of Color Collective. So I've been talking with her to make sure that, I am being, my design calls are going out there. And I'm trying to make sure that the designs that are being chosen are appealing to a larger group of people. I feel like some of the earlier issues and it was a much smaller audience that they were appealing to. So I know that you can't make everybody happy all the time. I just feel like maybe the bubble was a little too small. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to make it appealing to a larger audience without like going so large that there's no theme at all, which is not easy at all.
So for the designers who are listening in and they're like, oh, I really like the sound of this magazine. Maybe this is something I'd want to submit to in the future. First of all, I've hosted all of the calls for submissions inside Pattern Design Circle in the calls for submission area. So if you remember, you can see it there. But otherwise, what kind of are you looking for in designs when you're looking for now a little bit broader audience?
Well, when I put out design calls, which is going to be one at the end of this week, you can go to Crochet Foundry and under About, there's the information on how you can do design calls, on how you can sell your own personal patterns on Crochet Foundry, and on how you can join the affiliate program, which is run through Share a Sale, because that's my favorite network when I work as a designer. I like I can find all of the different places I go together in one spot. And just a note to anybody who was an affiliate or was selling on Crochet Foundry or anything before I purchased it, you're not anymore, because the affiliate program you were with was actually Furl's affiliate program. So you're still an affiliate with Furl's, but Crochet Foundry is no longer on that affiliate program. So if you want to be an affiliate with Crochet Foundry, you have to re-sign up in order to still be getting those affiliate payments for Crochet Foundry. And you probably have to change your links because it's a different program. But your old links will default back to Furls, so they're still going somewhere good. They're not like broken links. They're still going somewhere awesome. It's just not Crochet Foundry. So then in the calls, I put out a call. They're usually seasonal. Even though the magazine is every month, I do the calls seasonally so I can do the photo shoots seasonally. With only like yeah, with only like 7 to 9 patterns per issue, it makes more sense to do a photo shoot seasonally, and that's one of the big expenses is the photo shoots. So
That's one thing that very familiar with from in tandem that
yeah,
we ended up for the first four issues because it was run by a Kickstarter and everything and what our budget was, we did all four issues in the same photo shoot, which
right.
makes it a bit difficult. But it is a huge part of what is an expense behind magazines.
Yeah, I mean, because it's not only a photo shoot, it's also the models
Yes.
too. So you have
Yeah.
to hire the photographer, you have to hire the models,
And then
all of
if you're
that.
going to a location and
Yeah,
like
sometimes the
board.
locations have to be rented. Yeah, so and that's one of the things we're still kind of working out right now is the photographer and the models and everything. But yeah, so everything up to photography is done quarterly. So I'll send out a quarterly call, but the call will be broken down into each month. And each month has its own theme. Like I said, the June issue is a special pride issue. So when the June issue comes out, you'll see that each design has been paired with a different pride flag. And the colors of the design go with the flag. Um, but then there's also, if you have the theme that we just had for March was a flower festival. Now that was one that um, was already like in production before I bought the magazine. Um, and but if you look at it, you'll see that everything has a flower theme, and also it's like festival clothing kind of themes. So when I put out the design calls, I'm making sure that there's a clear theme. I've been making for the design call that's going out at the end of this week. I have different Pinterest boards for each theme. So when does this podcast go live?
On June. So
In June.
it'll be
Oh, okay. So the design call will be come and gone by then, but there'll be another one coming up because there's actually right now, because I'm trying to build up to the point where we have that full 49 weeks. The design calls are going to happen a little more frequently than every quarter as we're building up to getting to the full 49 weeks. Once we get there, there'll be a design call every quarter. But right now we're kind of like building to the point to get in all that extra time. And the design calls, like I said, they all have a pin board attached to each month to give you a really good idea of what they are. There's also a little written description of what they are. And then you submit your design, and I'll say that as a publisher, somebody has to look through the designs. What I really have found useful is I don't care if you can't draw well. Like, if you draw a stick figure in a sweater and your sweater is like a rectangle with two rectangles sticking off on the two sides so that you can show me the color placement, that's fine. But then you need to also attach an image, a photo of a person wearing a sweater that fits in the manner your sweater is going to fit.
Yes.
And then you also need to attach a photo of a swatch that shows the stitches your sweater is going to be made in. If your sweater is going to be made in solid double crochet, I probably don't need a swatch. But if part of your design is a really intricate cable pattern, show me the intricate cable pattern or show me a sample of something similar. Like, what you submit along with your sketch is dependent on your sketching ability, because that 3 rectangles equals a sweater, or like a big old T equals a sweater, perfectly fine for showing me the color layout, where the cables are going to be, all of that. Beautiful, love it. I can interpret that, no problem. But what I can't interpret from that is how it's supposed to fit the body. And that's why you want to also include a photo of somebody wearing a sweater that is fit, and just be clear what each thing you're submitting is. Say this photo of the person in the sweater sitting on the couch shows the fit, whereas this sketch shows the placement of the cables, and this swatch is what the cables are going to look like. Make it so that I can put I'm really good at taking 3, 4, 5 different things, sticking them together in my brain, shaking them about and seeing what the one image is supposed to be. But if you don't give me all the parts, I'm not going to know. And I've had to put proposals to the side because the person didn't have the drawing ability to show me what it was going to look like. And they didn't give me enough other information for me to really know what it was going to look like. And I shouldn't have to hunt down your past designs to see what's going on. You should be giving me everything I need in that proposal. Um, and I think that's really what I've seen, like the biggest stumbles when I've been getting proposals, is people not providing enough information for me to really know what it is that they have proposed.
Mm-hmm. How has it been for you going through all the proposals? Has it been overwhelming? Has it been interesting? Has it been difficult? I'm just curious your perspective. So I guess part of where this question is coming from is from In Tandem. I didn't actually, I came to created In Tandem from I wanted to do something with a bunch of designers as a collaboration, and I wasn't so interested in the magazine part. Um, and so I realized I hated trying to go through proposals and make decisions about, what are we actually going to put in here? What are we not? What are we, I find that so difficult. And I can't imagine having to go through hundreds or thousands or, some of these publications, the number of proposals that they get, and then narrow it down to like 10. So how have you felt about that experience?
Well, so far, I've because most of the issues all the way through into the fall were already in production. I've only done
Oh, yes.
one set of, so June, July, and August have those I've done from the beginning, but then September and October are already in production because those were the 2 issues that I skipped. So I'm not putting out an issue in April and May. Those 2 issues actually got moved to September and October because thankfully their themes work for fall as well.
Mm-hmm.
So really, like, you're going to see the real true like Jessie Crochet Foundry starting in November. From there forward, everything will be 100% me. June, July, and August are mostly me. But if you want to know when you're really going to see what Crochet Foundry is going to be under my ownership, it starts in November. But I've done one call that I had to look through the actual results so far. And yeah, I the first thing I did was I tried to make sure, I've changed the way that the proposals are to make it easier for me to look at them without seeing the names.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to look at them without seeing the names because
Yes.
I can say that I'm not going to be biased until I'm blue in the face, but I can't really control the unconscious bias that you're going to have towards your friends or somebody who maybe like rubs you the wrong way, even though they're an awesome designer or whatever. I don't know. But I just didn't want to look at the names. I wanted to look at the designs. So, I did all of that, and it was hard because some of them like I really liked, but it's like I have a clear theme. I love this design as a design. It doesn't fit with the theme. Or I love both of these. These are my 2 favorite designs, and they're so similar, I can only have one of them. So the second best design in the entire pile doesn't even get published because the first best is too similar to the second best. So and that it's like that really sucks having to say no to something that like you really love. But if I'm only putting 7 to 9 patterns in an issue, I can't have 2 that are that are like so similar, that it just doesn't make sense, especially if I want to have a nice variety. So you do all that, and then when you're done, you get to go yay when you realize that you actually chose your friend's design. Oh my gosh, what a relief. And you get to go, oh, insert profanities here when you didn't choose the design that you submitted. You're like, oh, well, I hope they still love me. And then, of course, the other thing that I ran into is I know when I submit to proposals, I usually submit like half a dozen things. And I'm clearly not the only one, because there was one case where I had accepted 4 patterns from the same designer. And then another one where I accepted 3 from the same designer. So before I sent out any offers, I realized I needed to give myself a little more time in the offer point, because what I had to do was I contacted both of those designers before I contacted anybody else. And I said, these are the patterns that I would like to publish from you. If you can do them all with these deadlines, that is fine. But be honest with me. Let me know if we need to cut any out. We can. I don't want to send you an acceptance letter for 4 designs and have you go, oh crap, there's not enough hours in the day for me to finish this. I lucked out in that both of them were like, oh no, I can totally handle it. So that, well, but yeah, I realized that I needed to add in, a couple extra days to work out those things. And the other thing I really need to do is, when I'm looking at them at the end, I also need to look at where the designers live, because if I have too many international designers, I don't have enough yarn support companies that will ship internationally to support them all. So there was in the June, July, and August, I actually had to pay out of pocket from Crochet Foundry for the yarn for 2 of the designs, because I had already exhausted my international yarn support. So I'm working on getting more yarn support companies, but I also have to pay attention to, okay, if I can only do, 3 designs per quarter that have to go to this area and 2 that can go to this area or whatever, I have to figure that out so that I'm not accepting too many international designs to the point where Crochet Foundry is paying for the yarn support. So there's been a lot of learning process in that area, but I love picking out the designs. I really do. It's a lot of fun.
Yes. What about the rest of Crochet Foundry? Like, there's the calls for submissions is like an exciting part, but it's only a small part of actually running a magazine. So how has kind of learning the ropes and getting everything transferred to you, and how has all of that gone and navigating that felt?
Well, the sale went through on December 26th. So yeah, there were a lot of people on vacation.
Yes.
It was like a good month before everything was transferred. And like, I just discovered that Facebook, okay, Meta, I have as Jessie at Home, there's the Jessie at Home portfolio, which owns all the Jessie at Home stuff, right? Well, there's the Crochet Foundry portfolio, which owns all the Crochet Foundry stuff. Apparently, I am the owner of each individual Crochet Foundry thing, but I only discovered last week, like right before I went on a trip, and that I just came back from the other day, that I don't actually own the Crochet Foundry portfolio. So here we are, how many months in, and now I need to contact Froze again and be like, dude, we missed something. Like, because there was something I couldn't do unless I owned the portfolio. But yeah, there's so much, like with social media and making sure that everything is out there. And I had people lined up to help me. And then part-time jobs they had moved to full-time, and this one flaked, and it was like, so I literally, like, in an hour and a half have a meeting with a VA that I'm trying to hire, because my biggest issue has been finding reliable help that I can trust, that will do a good job, and that will make more than they cost. So like, I'm perfectly happy to pay you, but what you're doing needs to make me more money than I am paying you. So yeah, that's where my issue has been finding people. There's a lot of things that I don't need to do. I don't need to be the one putting out all the social media stuff. I don't need to be the one taking the interviews with the designers and putting them into the blog post and adding the photos and doing all the SEO and all of that. I don't need to be the one doing that. The things that I need to do, great. But the things that I don't need to do, I would love to just pay somebody else to do. I do not have the kind of control issues where I'm not willing to let it go as long as you know what you're doing. The problem that I've run into is finding the you know what you're doing aspect. Somebody who's reliable and intelligent.
Yes. So what are you loving most about running Crochet Foundry right now?
The community, definitely. It was Furls had already fostered a really lovely community environment and a very open and welcome environment. I already knew that Lorene and I have very similar values and ethics. You know, we're both very much into. We're both firm believers in the paradox of tolerance. In order to be a truly tolerant society, the only thing you cannot tolerate is intolerance. You know, just be kind to each other. Let everybody else be who they are. It's not hurting anybody. You know, your skin color, your race, your gender, your sexuality, none of that affects the kind of human being you are. So it shouldn't matter to me in any way. You know, it shouldn't matter to me. It should be fine because we're all, you know, one big happy family. Damn it. So, and Furls already had that environment. And so Crochet Foundry already had that environment. I mean, because Lorene being one of the people who started it, she was already like that. So it grew up being that way, which made it very easy for me because I didn't have to deal with any of the crap of people who weren't nice. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's very much like, you like yarn? I like yarn. Let's be friends. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Everybody is just so willing to help. When somebody posts a picture of something they're working on, everyone comes in, and if you can tell that this is this person's very first thing and the stitches are a little wonky or whatever, then people are like, oh my gosh, your colors are amazing. And look, I can see as it went on that your tension got better as it grew. You're learning. That's awesome. Like, everybody finds the thing that's great about it and shouts it out. And then if you need help, they're there to help you without insulting you. And I love that. And I love, you know, I like to foster that community. And thankfully that community was already there when I got the magazine.
That's beautiful. Because communities can be beautiful and uplifting, and what you just described, and then there's communities that are not that.
Yeah.
And there's only one kind of community I'm interested in participating in fostering as well. So
exactly.
So let's say there's designers listening in who are like, it's always been my dream to start a magazine, to own a magazine, to whatever it looks like for them. Do you have any advice for them, or tips, or a little dose of reality, or anything like that you'd like to share with them?
When something falls in your lap the way that this did, if you go for it, you have to go for it knowing. My husband and I took out 2 loans. I took out one loan to cover the cost of the magazine, and my husband took out a second loan to cover the magazine not making money for like the first 6 months to a year. Okay, because you have to realize there's a learning curve. So if it's gonna drop in your lap and you don't have time to prepare, you're gonna have to start with a huge chunk of money to cover where you're not ready. And that is obviously a privilege issue. I was able to get these loans. In other circumstances, I wouldn't have been able to. Years ago, I wouldn't have been able to. I was just, like I said, everything worked. It was all in the right place. The only way it could have worked better is if I happened to have the money sitting around waiting. But if you're going and you have time to prepare, um, be prepared with a team. So even if you're the sole owner and the buck stops here, that's fine. Make sure you have photographers lined up. Make sure that either you or the photographers are capable of getting models in the sizes you need when you need them. Okay. Make sure you have your VA or VAs lined up. You're going to need people who will do your social media, because social media for a magazine is essentially a full-time job. You're not going to have time to do the social media yourself. Crochet Foundry has had very minimal social media since I bought it, because the person I had lined up got a full-time job and didn't end up doing anything. So I couldn't make that time appear, and I can't not publish the magazine. So the things that I had to do in order for the magazine to actually get published had to come first, which meant the things that actually caused the magazine to get sold got dropped off the end. So it's like, okay, well, I've published the magazine, but it's not selling as great as I would like because the advertising isn't there. Okay, so have your social media people lined up already. Have those people ready. And either with them or on your own, have a plan of attack for that advertising. Because if you're going to spend the time and the money producing a magazine, no one's going to buy it if they don't know about it. So that has to be out there. And then have really clear contracts. They do not need to be legalese, but they need to be clear. And you need to think about what it feels like to be in each of those positions. Best scenario, when I was in Chicago a few weeks ago, I was up until 3 a.m. with some designers, just chatting about what they wanted to see from a design call and how much time they needed between X and Y and Z, which is why we ended up at 49 weeks, because I actually talked to people and said, these people need this much time. You can't do the testing. If you want people to have testers and to provide tester photos, you can't do that at the same time as the pattern is being produced, because then your testers become your tech editors, and that's not what a tester is. So you have to have the pattern made, then the pattern tech edited, then the pattern tested, and then a little time after that to go back to the tech editor if something wonky was discovered during the testing. So it's like if you figure out all of this stuff in advance, then when you start, you're going to have success sooner. And you're not as likely to do something that's going to make people want to walk away. I'm very lucky in that Crochet Foundry already had a good reputation. So I don't have to fix the problems. I don't have to be like, oh no, that's not who we are anymore, because Crochet Foundry was already had a good reputation. But if you're buying a magazine, and there might be something that maybe wasn't the best of reputations about this aspect or that aspect, and yeah, you're going to have to make sure that people know that that's changed. So yeah, I'd say getting a team ahead of time is probably the biggest thing.
Love that. So now what has it looked like for Jessie at home? You've taken on this huge other part of your business, or a new business. What does that look like now for Jessie at home?
Sorry. Yeah, Jessie at home has kind of gotten backburnered, and I don't like it. I like Jessie at home. I don't like that it got backburnered.
I figured exactly the same thing. That's part of why I asked the question, is have you figured, especially when you don't have the team yet. I definitely felt like both pattern designs are goal and snickerdoodle nets ended up on the back burner for 2 years, and it broke my heart.
Exactly. So I mean, again, that's one of the reasons why I have that other meeting today. Is I'm gonna get those social media, the VA She actually is a VA that has a whole team. So I don't have to worry about like sharing time with other people or, what she has time for because she has a whole team. So she's getting hired not only for Crochet Foundry, but also for Jessie at Home. I mean, we're going to start slow and build up. Um, and so then once I have enough stuff handed off, then I'll be able to get back into Jessie at Home again as well, because I really want that to continue to happen. Um, on the Crochet Foundry blog, we have the interviews with the designers for each of the patterns. Um, and we'll be putting like some book interviews, book reviews and stuff in there. But I also want to keep the things going on in Jessie at Home. And there might be some behind the scenes stuff for Crochet Foundry that'll be on Jessie at Home, in addition to all of the stuff that was already there. I don't want to just let it go. It still has a lot of value to me, both personally and professionally. So yeah, it's just a matter of getting everything running smoothly with Crochet Foundry. Because obviously, if Crochet Foundry doesn't run smoothly, it's a bigger hit to me than if Jessie at Home doesn't. So I've got to get Crochet Foundry running smoothly and get, the VAs and everything going. And then I'll be able to put time back into Jessie at Home. But I have no intention of saying goodbye to it.
Yes, that's good. I mean, if you chose not to, that would be wonderful as well. But I'm happy for you that you're able to, you want to keep Jessie at home. And I have heard just in general from business coaches, when you add, which is something I had in mind before I added pattern design circle to Snickerdoodle Knits, when you add something new to your business or you add a new business, you're adding something else to your plate. So you have to be just very comfortable with the fact that things are, you're not going to have as much time as you did to
Right.
dedicate your existing projects, and to, just like you described with Crochet Foundry right now, be able to dedicate your resources to establishing, or, even Crochet Foundry was already established, but now you're establishing yourself in it and getting all of the things going. Right. That takes time, and just being aware of financially what that looks like, as well as time and energy, and whether you can actually balance it or not.
Right. And I mean, that's why with the VAs, it's like I need to get everything I can get handed off to somebody else, so that the things that only I can do, I actually have time to do and to do well. I feel confident that when I get the things handed off that can be handed off, and they're handed off to people who can do them really well so that they're making more money than they're costing, I will be able to run both Jessie at Home and Crochet Foundry, because there are, tons of amazing designers and a wonderful community and everything. And the fact is that what I pay designers is the top payment tier. Like, there aren't people paying designers more than I am, and I'm not going to change that. I'm also doing, like, one of the things that I'm doing to encourage designers to advertise the magazine as well, is I have the affiliate program that anybody can join. But if you're, and that has like the 20% commission. But then if you're a designer for that issue, from 2 weeks before your issue publishes to the end of that month, you go up to 25%. And I have a like choose your own adventure interview sheet with like 80 questions or something like that on there. And if you do an interview from that interview sheet, then that I can post on the Crochet Foundry blog, then your affiliate fee for those 6 weeks goes up to 30%. And when I post the interview on the blog, I put your affiliate link in there. So if anybody buys the magazine from your interview, they're using your link. So I'm doing all of these things to encourage the designers to advertise as well. I find that the positive reinforcement works better than just putting it in the contract and saying you're supposed to do this.
Yes,
I
yes.
can tell you advertise it until I'm blue in the face, but if you're going to get a 30% commission for 6 weeks, then you're probably more likely to do some decent advertising than just by me writing that in the contract. And then everybody wins. And I like the situations where everybody can win and where, yeah, this is my set design fee that I get, but I can make so much more than that by doing these other things as well. I like giving the designers the opportunity to bring that up even more.
And I love that it feels like it continues to build community more like authentically. Like it that now the designers are maybe have a little bit more incentive to share and they're more excited to share, but it's then helping bring their community, their audience into the Crochet Foundry community. And I feel like it just helps bring everyone together instead of something that I don't love about the traditional publishing magazine scenario is it's like the designers submit a design and then they just like the designers are it's not doesn't feel like this really involved community with designers as well.
Yeah. And I've been traveling a lot, so I haven't been as good recently as I was before, but I try really hard to make sure that I'm checking the Crochet Foundry socials so that whenever one of the designers posts something, I can go in and I can be like, oh, we absolutely love the colors in that one. Or, um, you had such amazing testers on this. We love seeing it, how it fits on all those different body types, or something, whatever I can say that's a positive thing, which is pretty easy with the designers that we've got. um, I love just being able to pop on and keep that going so that it keeps that community,
Yeah.
because like I said, the community is my favorite part.
Yes, yes. And I feel like the more that we give in a positive way, the more that we receive in a positive way. And it's just
Yeah.
I feel like it just creates this beautiful cycle of wonderfulness.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think a lot of people can learn a lot from like the way that GoSadie handles their social media. They do a really, really good job of fostering that like positivity, and they reply to things, and when you tag them, yeah. So I'm like, right, I'm just gonna like do what they do because they do it really well. And there's no shame in that. If somebody's doing something you want to do and they're doing it really well, dude, emulate them. Don't copy them, but
Don't
like
copy them, but
emulate
maybe
them.
inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. Take some inspiration from them.
Yes. Okay, so Jesse, what are you most excited for coming up? Is there anything that you can share that you're just like jumping up and down about?
I'm incredibly excited about being able to hand off some of the stuff I don't have to do. And I'm really excited about the June issue, because yeah, I'm like one of the few people in my family who's not queer. So having the pride themed issue is really exciting. And I'm super excited. My daughter is my illustrator. Um, so we're starting, she's going into sequential art, which is like comic books or storyboards for movies, or possibly also she also likes the character design for animated movies, cartoons, whatever. And she's an unbelievable artist. Just blows my mind. I have 2 art degrees, and she's better than I could ever hope to be. Um, and she is doing so she's going to be doing illustrations, and I'm super excited about that because like in the last issue, in the March issue, there was one little illustration that she did that was just a real quick one that was just like an outline drawing of my hands crocheting, because we had like the bottom third of one of the pages was blank and needed something. um but then like for the pride issue, she's just going to do like just paint a couple cute, like a little version of each flag, just so it's not the like really sterile like
Mhm.
rectangular, this is this flag, this is that flag. It'll be really pretty. um and then the thing that she's going to start doing is every once in a while when there's a pattern that maybe that can be worn a couple different ways, um she'll do some sketches showing different ways it can be worn or different outfits it can be worn with. And we have photos and stuff that do that as well. But
Mhm.
just having that little bit of mixture of like the hand made illustrations along with the photographs. I want to make sure that Crochet Foundry encompasses the fact that crochet is an art form.
Mm-hmm.
And so the magazine should have more art in it. So I'm really loving like getting more art into Crochet Foundry, but it's still going to be crochet patterns. You're still going to get what you paid for. I'm not like suddenly going to start putting extra things in there that, no, you're still getting what you paid for, but we're also bringing in the art aspect of it.
That's so beautiful. I'm so excited. I'm not even a crocheter, and I'm like, oh, I want to see it. That's so beautiful. All right. If folks want to find out more about Crochet Foundry or you, Jessie at home, where should they go? Where do you want them to go?
Your best bet is to just go to crochetfoundry.com. Up there are links for everything. If you go to crochetfoundry.com and you just scroll to the bottom of the page, there's a place where you can sign up for the newsletter. And if you want to be an affiliate, if you want to sell your own patterns on Crochet Foundry, where you get the majority of the money, or if you want to submit patterns to the actual magazine, all of that is up through the menu. I think all of that's actually under the About list thing on the menu. But the menu has all the information you need, and the newsletters at the bottom there. And you can always just reach out to me at admin@crochetfoundry.com as well.
Perfect. I'll have both the email address and link in the description as well.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining us and for sharing just about this adventure. It still is a pretty new adventure. We're recording this in April, so it'll be
yeah. And I've got, if anybody who can actually see can probably see piles of like bags of crochet behind me. It's because I've been organizing all the samples I have to send back to the designers.
Yes.
Oh, sorry about that.
Well, thank you again so much for joining us, for taking the time, and we're super excited for you hiring a PA.
Thank you. I'm very excited too. Thank you for having me.
Of course. I hope you really loved that. Also, Jessie shared a coupon code, as I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, for you to purchase a magazine from Crochet Foundry. So if you want to check out what the work actually looks like before you submit, or just out of curiosity, like I said, I'm curious about the artistic elements in it now. So that coupon code is Beautiful Crochet. It's also linked in the description of this episode, and that will give you 10% off your entire Crochet Foundry magazine order. So that is not the indie patterns, it's the magazine, and it works for one order. So I hope you loved it and enjoy your Crochet Foundry magazine if you purchase, and I wish you a beautiful week. I'll chat soon. Wow, thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you found it valuable, please share the podcast with a designer friend. And if you have a minute, leave a review. It's so helpful for me and means the world to me. Chat soon.